Hey everyone, I am Sister Lily and welcome to my armory. So today I have something I've been wanting to get hold of for, when was it released? I think 3 years ago? Maybe a bit longer, maybe a bit less. And on top of that I have a few other things that came with it as well. So this box is rather massive, but yeah. So first off I'll just pull the other things out of the way, because they aren't relatively relevant to this. Some of you might be able to see what it is already. Pull the cardboard out of the way. Yep, it is none other than the Sledgehammer from Victoria Miniatures. And, well, Victoria and Reaper Miniatures. And Hobby Q, apparently. But yes, this was an awesome collaboration they did a few years ago that I've kind of been eyeing for years, but just not had the money for, because I mean this thing in Australian is like $100. It's not cheap. Actually I think it's more than that. But yeah, like this thing's awesome. Just going to kind of slide out the cardboard box and show the back of it. So this is vaguely what it's going to look like when painted. I'm going to paint it differently, probably with a bit more blue, because they kind of like doing green. I've also had very little experience with Reaper paints, but I've had plenty with Citadel and a little bit with P3, so I'm probably going to use those. But yeah, look, this is an awesome kit. I've been eyeing this thing for years. So now is there something on the bottom? Yes there is, there's the base. So underneath it there's the collection of bases in a Ziploc. The best way to deal with them. It means you can easily get them out. You have a picture of the model with two different colour schemes and on two different angles with the crew around it. And yes, we have... Let's see how many pieces this thing is in. Now does that have the instructions on the back of it? Does this thing even have instructions? That could be a very valid question. Does this thing have instructions? Does it need instructions? I'd say yes, because everything needs instructions. But we have solid round barrel, which connects in relatively loosely. Let's bring the picture back up. So how does that go? That goes like that, I think. Yeah, that goes like that. And yeah, I'm going to look up the instructions for this thing and build it up. Now, something I will do is just pull out some of the crew. Now, I can't see them properly on the edge there. Yes, we have someone who looks like they might be a commander. Now, is that showing up properly on my camera? I can't tell, my screen's pretty dodgy. Well, the easy solution is make sure my camera light is on. Or just do it this way. So these are actually plastic. Like, Victoria Miniatures' main thing is doing resin miniatures, but occasionally they do plastic stuff. Like, we've got the spanner operator, we've got the commander, we've got a shell loader, we've got the person checking what the targeting solution and orders are. I mean, if I can see it pretty well on my camera screen like this, it's probably coming through clearly. I hope so. They'll look better when I've got them ready to show off, as in once they're painted. So we've got this one who's got, looks like a comm unit or maybe a canteen. And we've got the sights person, they're big sights off the side of them that just slots into those, has the two holes slot onto those two pegs. I look forward to building this, but I'm half tempted to cut the top guard. Part of me wants to cut their heads off and put on some of the other heads that I have with this, because I got myself 20 heads for my hectarians that are just the pickle prick gas mask helms. And I've got a few other things with this order that I'll show off that I've kind of been wanting to get but never really had the spare funds to justify on their own. My main criticism of Victoria Miniatures is that they don't do Australian dollar as a currency for Australians. They only have US dollar, which means money gets translated into USD and then back into Australian, which means they're getting to enjoy the exchange rate, but at the same time it means having to pay a whole lot more than the price you see on the sign. We also have now an ammo box that's lid isn't actually on. That's kind of cool. That looks a bit warped, but I'm not sure if that's the intention. I'll check that out with them. Like it does, it's warped, but I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure if that's the intention. If it is, then that's kind of cool. Well, that's quite loose plastic, so see how the warping occurred. I'm surprised they didn't put like a foam bead or something in there to keep it in shape. So because one of the crew models, particularly this model's weapon thing here, is miscast, Victoria Miniatures are actually sending me a replacement for the crew and a new set of ammo crates, which will be really useful because I'd kind of like to have these things. Now I might figure out some way of fixing this. I probably won't be bothered. "12 months later." So, yes, this model has been a work in progress for about a year. I haven't touched much up on the artillery piece since I got the majority of the work done on it. I just went, right, if I do too much more on it I'll wreck it. And I put in a lot of work on this thing, so I don't want to wreck the paint job I did. Now I showed you the images of some of the rust effects I've done. You can't really see them for the most part because they're on the interiors. Yes, I've kept that loose because I haven't decided what I'm going to do, but here we have a part I didn't show you, which is just the rust effect on the undercarriage. Now the insides of the wheels themselves have all been rust painted. I painted the rust effects on the wheels, all of them individually, which was a pain, but worth it. It looked cool. Just keep dropping things, hey? So we have the little crane arm here that has its little shell carrier part that I have not decided if I'm going to glue in or not. Now we have the two shells. These I've had great troubles with because they took great offence to the spray paint that I used on them. And yeah, that is a little bit of blue tack from just painting it before. So I don't know if I'll display them with this or if I'll display them with new shells, because I'm half tempted to buy a whole collection of shells off them just to have more shells. Now I'll probably provide them with some feedback about spray paint, just to mention don't use a certain brand. I'll have that mentioned on the video. Now we have the crate here. I do have replacements for it here, but basically having them in a plastic, well, in a cup with, I've soaked them a few times with boiling water. I haven't been heavily dedicated to it. Now you can see the base behind it. I just made a kind of generic looking artillery base. I originally had wanted to build this thing so it was sitting in a in a ruined building shelling out of it, with models kind of standing around doing various things, from holding the position up to monitoring for enemies and so on. As you can see with the crew, I've converted a few of them to... I've converted one of them particularly because he was seriously wrecked, like his sculpt did not work. Now the bases themselves were half an accident. I went, right, I'm going to just see how bicarb and cat litter works on their bases, and accidentally discovered how to do snow bases, hence the video on that last year. Now the details on these aren't as crisp as resin. For example, here's the resin one next to it. Now the issue is just that I've got the resin miniature sitting on the base properly, whereas this one I raised up so as I could have it have texture around the feet, but it turned out to be kind of needless. Like texture wise, the resin model has more detail in it, but that's not surprising, it's resin. There's a reason they offer the resin replacement crew, or alternative crew that you could just buy if you don't want the whole kit. Now there were upgrades available for the kit when they first did it, such as track units. I think they've still got a gun shield for it. I don't care about either, so I haven't bought them. Let me just move him there. But yes, I've also, I've got him with the hammer that I've just made using bits out of the sights. They're still nice models, even if some of them are a bit rough. Like that one's, like the officer's pretty cool. The aforementioned commissar that you guys will have seen earlier in the year, this is how she scales up with them. Of course, if you've got a commissar in your artillery unit, that's usually a bad sign. So, because I haven't quite finished painting him yet, I haven't permanently mounted his little targeter sights onto his hands yet, but here's the replacement crew with them. The replacement crew don't come with the character, because the character is a separate model. Kind of sad about that. The character makes the unit look even better. Yeah, that's the resin... Whoops. That is the resin replacement crew with them. I have a separate video on these coming out later in the week when I finish painting them. Using a better sculpt quality. I'll do a slightly... The paint job's going to be better than I did with them, but then I'm approaching it differently, so that happens. Now, you can see the rust effects. This model is a good model. It's a neat kit. I haven't had a chance to field it because the world's been a damn mess for reasons that shouldn't need to be explained to anyone who lived through 2020. My sympathy to anyone who lost relatives, or friends, or associates, or people they were even remotely close to. 2020 was a rubbish year for everyone. I'm still living through it, even though at this point it is nearly the end of 2021. Oh, should we say 2021? Anyway, personally, I do feel this kit is a bit expensive for what you get. Like, it's a cool kit. This thing's kind of intended, I think, as an alternative to Forge World's artillery set, and that isn't a bad thing. Alternatives are always a good idea, and like this one's the best one out of the unit, I reckon. Yeah, like the basing mix is what I did for the base is pretty much just a mix of cat litter, the supermarket clumping clay variety, bicarb, and monumental amounts of superglue, to the point that I had to leave this in a separate room to avoid getting sick. Also, while I didn't make that mistake with this one, and I won't be making that mistake at all in my hobby career, do not put super glue in the oven. It turns into cyanide. I do not know what to do with this knowledge beyond staying safe. Yeah, because a few bits of junk ended up in there. I've kind of tried to paint them a bit rusty. Didn't do as good a job with the rust effects on this model, but that happens. So yeah, it's a neat model. I'm just going to turn the artillery piece the other way. It's easier if I just pull it off there. So yeah, that's the artillery piece from this side. Now, in terms of elevation, it doesn't have as much as it should. That is in part because originally there is a bar in here. Now, I can't remember its exact placement, but I think it was about here. I removed it because it got in the way. There was also a screw there that I have also removed because, again, it got in the way. It was not helpful to me. And also, I think these are meant to be round the other way, but it gives greater elevation for the guns. So, yeah, I'm going with greater elevation for the big piece, for the big artillery piece. Now, I do have a tiny bit of blue tack in the little circle part here, just so I can stick that in. Anyway, this was a neat kit, and if you can spare the funds to buy it, I would actually suggest getting it. I'm not sponsored in any way. This is just my opinion. But anyway, thanks for watching. This video took me way too long to put out. If you like this, feel free to subscribe and stick around. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.